All yours, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that time again. And again, we apologize for everybody waiting so long. We're going to start off with Mr. Rooney. How are you, sir?
Good, Mr.
Caught you in the middle of a drink, I'm sorry. Superintendent of the DR School District, this is for the Elementary School Building Committee presentation.
Thank you very much for having me. We have members of our school building committee joining us tonight. Not everybody's here because we couldn't have a quorum. So, but it worked out nicely. Some people had long days, and we gave them the opportunity to go home, and other people are out of town. So, is my slideshow?
We can put it up.
All right, thank you. There we go. So I just want to start off with a couple of thank yous. I want to thank the Selectmen for having us here tonight. Also want to thank the staff at Town Hall, who's been very helpful in terms of getting my presentation here for tonight, helping us with posting meetings and different things like that. Grateful to our school committee, who has been providing me with some guidance along the way, and obviously the volunteers that are on our school building committee have done the yeoman's share of the works thus far, and I wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to be introduced to you tonight. As I've mentioned before, we are in the very, very early stages of the MSBA project. The MSBA does their projects in modules. So currently, right now, we are in Module 1, and if we could go to the next slide. There are 5 pillars of Module 1, which is the initial compliance certification, the formation of the school building committee, educational profile and enrollment process submissions, the maintenance and capital planning document submissions, and then last but not least, the local authorization of funding. On the next slide, I will walk you through the timeline and what we've completed and what we still have ahead of us. So I want to extend my appreciation to the Selectmen for getting the initial compliance certification submitted for us by May 31st. We did put our school building committee together. We actually met in June, so we were early on the July 1st deadline. Principal Lima and I worked together on a draft of the Educational Profile Questionnaire, the EPQ, which is a high-level overview of the program offerings at the building, things that we would like to see, some of the deficiencies, and some of the things that we wanted to celebrate. We took that to the school building committee and collaborated with them on a final submission, which had to be turned in by July 30th. As a part of that, there were online enrollment submissions. The online enrollment submissions cover quite a bit of ground. The MSBA asked questions about potential developments that might add number of residents to the towns. They ask birth rates. They ask, death rates. I mean, they ask for a lot of information. And again, my secretary, Michelle Blackburn, and the team at Town Hall here in Dayton did an excellent job collaborating. And believe it or not, because we're a regional school district, we had to get all that information from Rehoboth as well, even though it doesn't really apply to them. But grateful to the folks in Rehoboth for helping us with that as well. So that information will be used for the MSBA to meet with me no later than October 28th for a process that they refer to as the enrollment certification. So we've looked at our enrollment projections. We've also factored in that if some of these housing developments do end up coming to fruition, that we could very well have a school that has up to 100 students more than what we have right now. And so the MSBA takes all that into consideration, and by October 28th, we'll have a sense of what the enrollment certification is. We also have the responsibility for submitting a comprehensive maintenance and capital planning information. Our district business administrator, Leo Brem, and our facilities manager, Damian Preston, are working with the team at Dighton Elementary to have that submitted on or before October 28th. And then, last but not least, the town has to weigh in terms of the appropriation of funds. And the deadline for that is January 27th. But we are working on submitting warrant language for the November 14th town meeting. So as I mentioned, we're very fortunate to have 13 dedicated volunteers. I should say 12 because I'm not really volunteering my time. Beautiful thing about this group of folks is that they really do provide an excellent cross-section. We have educators, we have engineers, we have financial folks, we have folks that have participated in MSBA projects in other towns. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Donna Burdos, Leo Brem, Eliza Kuchar, Lenny Hull, Caitlin Lima, Selectman Pacheco, Mr. Robert Perry, Damian Preston, Paul Reynolds. I was selected as the chair. Kevin Smith is our secretary. Happy birthday to Kevin tonight, turning 40. And I was telling people outside that my 40th high school reunion is next month. And so that really gave me some perspective. Ruth Adams Teixeira, and our vice chair is attorney Alicia Wilson. So what we've done so far, we assembled in June, and we've also met July, August, and September. They've been very robust meetings. I appreciate being given the opportunity to meet either here at Town Hall or in the primetime room, because we have the ability to have the meetings recorded via Zoom. We did develop a preliminary communications plan that I will share with the selectmen in just a moment. We created and approved and submitted the EPQ that I referred to earlier, and also that enrollment information. So work that we still have ahead of us. I've been working with Mr. Purcell and Mr. Karen, as well as the school building committee, on submitting the language for the warrant article. The MSBA has to approve the draft language, so we're getting very close to having that language ready for the MSBA to sign off on, and then we will certainly meet the deadline for that to be printed for the town. And as I mentioned before, the enrollment certification meeting will happen no later than October 28th. We will submit capital planning information and maintenance information, and then obviously the vote will be at the November 14th town meeting. So our communications plan is started in phases. The next slide shows a project website that we've developed, and that is going to be launched on October 1st. And what the community will be able to do is they'll be able to go to that website. They'll be able to see all of our meeting agendas, all of our meeting minutes. They'll also be able to access slideshows like this one that I'm showing tonight. And then we also have an array of MSBA documents like the warrant language template and different things like that that folks will be able to access. On the next slide, I'm going to request permission from the town to work on disseminating this information about our community open houses. So one of the things that we feel is very important is that there are a lot of questions about the MSBA process. There are a lot of narratives out there that, have certain degree of truth to them, but maybe have a certain degree of myth to them. And so the SBC felt very strongly that we should give the community the opportunity to come in to Dighton Elementary, see the building, but also listen to a presentation from me and from other school building committee members about what the MSBA process really is, and be able to get questions answered. So we're very proud that we're going to show off Dighton Elementary on Wednesday night, October 30th at 6:30 p.m. and then again on Saturday, November 2nd at 4:00 p.m. Just to give residents, it'll be the exact same thing, 2 different times, but we want to give folks an opportunity to come through the week. or if they're too busy through the week, give them the opportunity to come on the weekend. And then we're also putting together a public Google Drive folder that will have many of the same resources that are on the website, but for those that prefer not to navigate through various tabs on a website, they will have the opportunity to see this information in Google Drive. And again, our goal is to launch these things by October 1st. So what I want to talk about next is, obviously what a lot of people are concerned about, and that is the feasibility study. So Module 1 is for the purposes of preparing for a possible feasibility study. And I want to emphasize the word possible because of the fact that I understand that this is the town's decision. We have a responsibility, the school building committee, we have a responsibility of just providing as much information to help people decide the direction that they want to go. But as I mentioned, I think that the open houses and the communications plan are going to be extremely important because of the fact that there is some misinformation out there, and we just want to make sure that people have as much factual information as possible before they vote. But on the next slide, I've just taken some information from the MSBA website about what a feasibility study, what its purpose is, and talk a little bit about the cost. And I'm not gonna read verbatim the information that's there, but I think the important aspect of the feasibility study is that there are going to be recommendations by the design team and the owner's project manager whether it would be best for there to be just a renovation. So maintain the building envelope, maintain the current site, and just renovate the building. So that's one of the options that might be presented out of a feasibility study. A second option that could be presented out of a feasibility study is what we call an add reno. So an addition / renovation. Take the existing building, maybe make some modifications to the building envelope, but largely keep the existing structure there, and have a phased renovation that would ultimately give us what, in all intents and purposes, would be a new building. And then the third option would be new construction. And new construction is not a foregone conclusion. And there's also a myth out there that new construction is more expensive than either of the other options. And sometimes that's not the case because the renovation or the add reno is done in longer phases. And so the more you drag out the process, the more, the labor costs and, you run the risk of inflation driving more prices up. But again, those are three options that'll be presented if the feasibility study passes and starts to come to fruition. But then the fourth aspect, which is extremely important, is that the town will also be told what happens if nothing is done. So if the feasibility gets started and if at the end of the process the town decides not to vote for project funding, then there will be an aspect of the feasibility study that says, okay, for the 1953-ish construction of that building, when certain things fail, and when those things fail and trigger ADA compliance, building codes, electrical codes, plumbing codes, the building is going to cost blank number of dollars to repair, and that blank number of dollars is 100% the responsibility of the town. There's no reimbursement from the state because you voted the project funding down. So those are four very important aspects that'll come out of the feasibility study should it pass. We've been doing a lot of work on cost estimates. I just put something up here just so that folks don't have tremendous sticker shock when we do get to town meeting. But the more recent projects for the MSBA, the feasibility studies are averaging around $1.25 million. And when we get to town meeting, I will give a thorough explanation of where the owner's project manager fees come from, where the design fees come from, where the site fees come from, and where the miscellaneous fees come from. Something that is extremely important is that the feasibility study is reimbursable under the MSBA agreement. Currently, our reimbursement is 55.6%. So even if we get to the point where there is a second vote for project funding, and if it gets voted down, we still get 55.6% of the feasibility study money back. And so that's something that I think is important that, that we will reiterate at town meeting, and we'll also share when we have our open houses, is that if it does come in at 1.25 or 1.3 million, it doesn't really cost the town that much money. That money will come back. The 55.6% will come back to the town. So just some key aspects of the feasibility study. And again, I'm not going to read this word for word, but there will be assessments and evaluations of potential challenges and opportunities. There will be some potential design cost estimates, projected enrollment. And what it will do is it will inform the decision-making, not only for the school building committee, but also for the residents of the town to be able to ultimately make a decision. Other feasibility study aspects include a student data analysis, and again, that will be trends in terms of new homes being built and different things like that. There will be a full assessment of the building condition so that there will be a recommendation as to whether a renovation, an addition renovation, or new construction would be the best option based on the building's structural integrity, functionality, and also compliance with codes. And then there'll also be a site analysis that'll be a part of that as well. On the next slide, just a few more aspects of the feasibility study. The educational program review. So we've already submitted an EPQ, which is the educational project questionnaire, which is a high-level view of current programming, different things like that. The educational program review is a very comprehensive document. I think the one that I worked on in Attleboro was 80 some odd pages. The MSBA has a lot of information that they secure through that. But I think the most important part of the feasibility study is the last portion there, which is community input. Gathering feedback from stakeholders, parents, teachers, residents, administrators, in terms of what they would be looking for if the project did come to fruition. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions at this time. And again, I appreciate the opportunity.
Sure, thank you. It sounds like you guys have done so much work already. And this feasibility study is a timetable for when it will get done?
Feasibility study is going to take anywhere from 18 to 24 months.
Okay, so that's a considerable amount of time.
Yes, because they obviously they want to be thorough and do it right.
Right, okay. And not anything to do with what you've said tonight, where was this new school going to be located?
Well, that'll come through feasibility, but it would stand to reason that if there weren't any significant site issues, and if the recommendation was to go with a new building, it would probably be the space between the two current buildings. But again, that's not set in stone because of that might not be the most attractive option.
Right.
And there might be significant site issues that we're not aware of.
Okay. I want to thank you guys. I know you're doing it for the goodness of your hearts. It's boring, and it's a lot of work and a lot of time that you put in, and you don't get paid. And thank you very much for doing this. It's very important to the town that something like this has to get done, regardless of what happens. Right. You've put the time in, and we certainly appreciate it. We don't get to say it enough, but thank you. Nicole, do you have any questions?
For the feasibility study in regards to that reimbursement, what's the timetable for that? Like, when would we get that?
How quickly would we get the money back?
Yeah.
I can ask that question. I don't know. I think it would probably hinge on whether the project funding passes or fails. Mm-hmm. I think if it fails, they would probably have a subsequent board meeting where they would authorize payments, similar to what you guys do or what the school committee does. And, the payment would go out in a timely fashion. I think if the project funding passes, then it just becomes a part of the total reimbursement.
Thank you.
Were you expecting the finance committee to tell the audience where the money was coming from, or are you going to do that as far as what account that we're taking it from?
I would follow your lead, whatever. I mean, I can have a conversation with Mr. Roach if you want me to, but I'll follow your lead.
Okay. Mark, do you have any questions?
No, I missed the last meeting, but I'm really happy to hear we're having an open house, so I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I hope we advertise it well on our town Facebook page as well, and as well as any methods that you guys have, because that's really important for the public to see the state of our school, like you said. And I know for me personally, I've said this story a few times, I didn't really understand the state of our elementary school until I walked it with Superintendent Rooney, and I appreciate that walk, but it's very eye-opening, so that would be a great opportunity for the public to see the state of the school and ask questions about the project, so thank you.
Mr. Karen, you touched upon something that I think is extremely important. No matter what happens here, this has been positive. This group that we have is small but mighty in terms of just a representation of the commitment within this town for education. So it's, as the superintendent, it's been very rewarding for me, and it's it's an aspect of democracy. The folks in the town get a chance to make the decision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, yes, we'll be in touch about the, where the funds are coming from, and thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to, Mr. Derek Costa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Hi. Hello, how are you? I'm doing great. How about yourself? Thank you. He's the superintendent director of the Bristol County Agricultural High School, and this is going to be a review, discuss, and act on the speed limit reduction on Center Street.
Right. Thank you so much for allowing us to be able to be here today from the Aggie and represent as the superintendent of the school district.
Sure.
Thank you for the select board for putting this onto your agenda and having the conversation. I do want to thank our director, Tom Ferrier, for the work that he's done for and around the school area, specifically the road repairs, the restriping, and traffic signal work that we do and desperately need at times when they're not operational, when we have multiple hundreds of kids crossing the road.
Sure.
Chief Nicholson has been fantastic. He's been, and his leadership staff have put direct reviews and traffic controls and direct patrols specifically to reduce the traffic flow and remediate some of the safety issues and concerns of speeding vehicles coming from 138 and coming over the Berkeley and Dayton Bridge that had happened. So I really appreciate their help. They met with us, just as a little bit of a background quickly. The team there from the town has had an inclusive conversation with the school and our leadership about having some traffic study and reviews of the of Center Street itself during our construction project and renovation that the town was so graciously a part of and very helpful. In the process, we did study the roadway. At the time, the Mass DOT was involved in that process, which they are with the authority with jurisdiction and responsibility, and designated the road as a 30-mile-an-hour speed area in place. Part of that discussion of it is that obviously we're in a high school setting, so designations of school zones in high school settings differ from than a traditional K-8 setting in place. So what we're doing now is we've been able to take a look at a more efficient way of studying the road. The actual town itself, with the chief, has been able to put out, and will be putting out speed counters, again, to count the amount of vehicles that are passing in that area, which we've seen it in some weeks be thousands of vehicles coming through, trying to get better accuracy on the speed of that road, of individuals coming through as opposed to a direct patrol, if it could be done in a passive manner. And what I came to the conversation today is that the town itself has capabilities to be able to assist in the process. We think that the mitigation of the speed in that area from a 30-mile-an-hour zone to a 25-mile-an-hour zone, which is within the jurisdiction of the town to make that determination and the authority of the select board to do that, and creating a safety zone, which will at least help us reduce some of the traffic and the amount of speed of the traffic that's coming over. We do have some concerns that we're going to address. We've put out visibility. We put out a crossing guards that have been trained in that area. We put out better signage, traffic signaling in that space. But we're really nervous about 640 kids crossing that street on multiple times during the course of the day, some of which don't have cross guards during that period of time. And as you know, the Aggies are pretty independent with our students, and they have flexibility to do that, but they are still kids, and they are the ages of 14 to 17 to 18 years old. So we're coming to the town. I put together a letter as a request of the town to take an entertainment that the speed limit gets reduced onto Center Street under the jurisdiction of the town from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour to what's be considered a safety zone. And that falls within your jurisdiction to do that in place.
Okay. Great, and I'm all for dropping it to 25, but here's not a concern, just if you're gonna go 40 through the zone, you're not gonna slow down because it's 5 miles an hour less that is posted, you're still gonna go through at 40. Somebody who's going 30 will drop to 25 because they're conscientious and know what's behind it if they don't. So what makes you think that that is the best option, to drop it to 25 as opposed to something else where we'll have more of an impact?
I think the first step for us to take to dropping it down to 25 will allow us to be able to change the traffic signaling that we have that alerts drivers immediacy that's coming up and approaching the roadway.
Okay.
So they're leaving Berkeley and coming over the bridge. That roadway that leads on Elm Street in the corner of Elm and Berkeley that leads over from the center of town is a 20-mile-an-hour roadway.
Yep.
So it's the approach itself coming through Berkeley is already at 20 miles. So the thought process of coming over that bridge and seeing a sign that says 30 off the bat becomes a speedway. So like an open session. I think getting signaling and the capabilities of better signage with the 25-mile-an-hour zone will allow people to have that cognizant assistance to understand that they need to slow down.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no. The second piece of that component of it is just not changing. I'm not coming just to the select board to have a conversation about what you all can be able to work with. We're trying to proactively work. The Secretary of Transportation and Mass DOT are actually touring the campus for a site visit on the 3rd of October. And part of that conversation is going to be a discussion around traffic safety and traffic patterns in the area. I don't think the burden should only fall onto the town to make that determination. Sure. So we're going to look at other mitigation options in place when we study it with Mass DOT. We're going to look at potential raised tabling in the location. So there'll be a direct a point of stoppage or slowing down in that area. We're also going to look at visibility and better signage in that space.
Okay. Would the 20 go from Elm Street for the whole bridge? Or are you going to start where it says 30 now?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I live in Berkeley, so I travel that road every single day for the last 20 years. So looking at it, it comes over from Elm Street, comes over the bridge, and then the 30 starts directly at a sign that indicates at the Standish House.
Okay.
And then it picks up from 138 and 138 through Somerset and Dighton. The sign that then picks up at the probably about not even a couple blocks away from the lights itself picks up 30 mile an hour also.
Right. Okay.
And so it's quite a challenge.
Sure.
It really is. Not to mention that we have things that you can't control, which is solar glare and visibilities in the morning hours.
Right.
But it is a big issue that we have to be concerned with ourselves, and we want to make sure that the kids are safe.
Okay, great. Nicole, do you have any questions?
He addressed some of my issues that I had just because, like you had said, I travel that path as well, and I go over the bridge, and that little sign there that will start blinking, you're going too fast, is a great reminder, and I'll slow down, but I'm somebody was already gonna slow down. So changing the speed just didn't feel like it was enough for me, but the fact that you have DOT coming out there and they're potentially taking other steps,
Yeah.
I would feel better about. I'm fine with lowering the speed limit, but I actually want to feel like the kids are gonna be safer, and that doesn't make me feel like the kids are gonna be safer.
Agreed. And I think the conversation on the 3rd starts the discussion with Mass DOT. They're going to take, as it was with the project, they're going to have us do a series of assessments of the roadway itself. They'll do a traffic study, and we'll have a lot of data analysis that needs to be provided back to the DOT. The ultimate goal will be that becomes a school zone.
Right.
But we don't have jurisdiction, and I don't believe the town has that jurisdiction
No.
either. So, but the Mass DOT does.
Right. Mark, do you have any concerns? Questions?
I talked to some town officials about various things about this and about like rumble strips or speed humps and that sort of thing, because I feel like something more physical would slow me down versus a sign, kind of similar to what you said. But I also feel that the Board of Selectmen wouldn't be although it's in our jurisdiction, I'd rather see like a professional, whether it be, you gotta have Mass DOT do a study. I'd rather have, see the results of like a professional, like study the area and give us feedback on what the best thing to do is. I prefer them take on the liability rather than the board. And if the Mass DOT doesn't do it, I'm under the understanding that organizations that we already use, like Granite City Partners, that's already surveying Main Street, can do similar studies and give feedback on that sort of thing. So I'd prefer to see a study done on all of the different scenarios and what the best, I'd rather see a recommendation in writing on what the best solution is for
Sure.
that area.
We can't do physical things to the road, but we can change the speed limit if honestly, if it's going to help. I don't want anyone getting into an accident, and I know the police have been out there in the mornings trying to keep the speed down. I'd be curious to find out how many people they have pulled over, not so much issuing tickets, but just to see how many people they've asked to slow it down. So is there a motion on the floor, please? This is a review, discuss, and act.
Sounds like you wanna wait till we get
Would
more
you rather
before we.
wait?
Could we have, I see a highway superintendent,
Sure. Yeah, I
could we have
wanted to-
feedback from Tom?
Absolutely.
Evening. So, as you just heard, the current team over the Aggie School is, safety is number one. It's very obvious. They review the traffic scenario every year and throughout the year also, not just when the school starts. And it's been a problem just prior to construction, during the construction, and after construction. I agree with Mr. Pacheco. I think an engineering study is the way to go, not to have a knee-jerk reaction. However, to consider the speed change, it's actually a safety zone. You want to create a safety zone. That's what you have the jurisdiction for, and that creates the 25 miles an hour. As far as any physical needs, yes, an engineer should be behind that.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Tom?
No, that's.
I mean, the board can direct me to move right along with that, and that's something that would fit with that Chapter 90 program.
What, making it a safety zone?
No, the engineering, the pursuit of engineering.
Chapter 90 is the funding
Okay.
source for that. That's good.
I think it'd give us some more facts and figures and allow us to digest it and make an educated decision.
So you would prefer not to do it tonight?
No, I
Okay.
prefer to get some more detail.
Okay. Would you like to table this then?
I would suggest making a motion to direct Tom Ferry to pursue a engineering study for that area with Chapter 90 money and perhaps give us an update when best for you.
That works for
I
me.
have a question real quick.
Sure.
Is there any downside to us at this point changing? Like, I'm a little uncomfortable with the school coming, saying that they're concerned and that they want it lowered, and then us not lowering it, and then, God forbid, something happens.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, and Mr. Karen hit on it. It really doesn't matter what the sign is.
Okay.
It does come down to enforcement. Unfortunately, right now, we have the police, upon their availability, they're monitoring on the
Yes.
peak points right at this time. How long that can happen, I don't know. This sort of change in the engineering can take months, maybe even years. He alluded to the Mass DOT visiting the campus. That does help with the momentum, so when we come up with 2 or 3 scenarios, they're already aware of the scenario, and it can help us help approve our recommendations to any radical changes on that area.
Do you consider the 25 a radical change?
Your commuters may, but however, what you're considering is a safety zone, and that's what we're facing. It's a safety issue. Unfortunately, a lot of these things are based on statistics,
Yep.
which means either injuries or deaths.
Yeah.
We don't want to pursue that. They have quite a few close calls. I mean, bumpers right up to the crossing guards, because they just don't stop
Right.
while they're in the road.
Yep.
So, it's a safety problem.
Okay.
The only piece of our conversation that we're discussing with it, and I do respect the fact, Selectman Pacheco, about the decision about bringing an engineering study in place, that's gonna be our next steps of our action, either the school or pursuing it with Mr. Farrier, which we'd appreciate you authorizing that. And that's the data we need to collect to do physical changes to the actual roadway. By allowing us to be able to be in a safety zone area, it starts to define at that point in time that we know we have safety concerns that we want to be able to continue to move forward on. And it begins the process of saying to folks, this is an area of our concerns and we're addressing it. So and we would do that, change to our traffic signage and our traffic signaling that we have.
Is there a chance that the research will come back and say it should be 30 miles an hour, and then we'd have to reverse it or people getting used to it fluctuating?
Declaring it a safety zone wouldn't do that. The normal investigation of a speed zone consideration could, but being a safety zone, being identified as a safety problem, shouldn't. A little research I did for the last few weeks, because we met 3 weeks now, right? This traffic studies that have been done with the counts and the speed through Serped that we use were not done at peak. It wasn't intentional, they just weren't targeting the peak hours like now during school season. And I got their interest on the phone in that, on the amount of time and their scheduling, it's not gonna hit our allotment right now. They could consider it late spring.
Yep.
But there's nothing available at this point to target and to capture the data that needs to be captured now.
Okay. So there's no downside to going to 25?
I don't believe so.
And doing that puts us into the safety zone that you keep mentioning. Those two things are one, right?
What gives you the jurisdiction to go to 25? Other than that, you can't change the speed limit.
Right. Okay. Mark, do you feel at least going to 25 and having Tom go forward with
That's fine.
this
Yeah.
research?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. All right, so is there a motion on the floor then?
I'll make a motion to designate, lower the speed limit from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour on Center Street.
And I just want to, on Center Street, it's just that portion of Center Street, correct? Not once we go past the
Yeah.
light and,
Right.
okay, all right. And then those people would not be happy.
No.
I'll second that.
And also, I would like to authorize Tom to do a traffic study if it's needed, if you work with Superintendent Costa.
They're very helpful. Thank you for
Sure.
authorizing that.
Okay.
I'll second
Okay,
that as
motion
well.
made and seconded. So any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mr. Fazzato, you're up next.
I come to see if I can work 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday morning. I haven't been working weekends, holidays, nothing. And I dropped about 12 of my accounts. And the only account I got is FedEx in Boston, that's it. So, but the reason why I like to try to get a license for Saturdays only is when I come in on a Friday night, I can't unload the truck till Monday morning, because I can't work weekends. And that's the only reason I want it for like Saturday mornings to unload it, and that's it.
What's the difference between unloading it on Saturday as opposed to Monday when you can't do anything with it until Monday anyway?
I only got one truck, and I got 2 other accounts, and I need that one truck, okay, for during the week, okay? But if I unload that truck, like on a Saturday morning, and if I get a call, I can go to the people's house, pick up the material, bring it home, and just leave it. But I'd like to unload the truck on a Saturday morning.
Unfortunately, I don't see any benefit of allowing you to unload it on Saturday as opposed to waiting till Monday morning. You can't do anything with it on Sunday anyway, or Saturday after we tell you you can
I don't
unload
work
it.
weekends no more. I don't work weekends no more.
Well, Saturday's part of the weekend.
Well, just to unload the truck
Yep.
for that following Monday, and that's it. But the truck stays tied up in my yard.
Yeah, I don't think the neighbors are going to appreciate you putting, I said, I don't think the neighbors are going to appreciate you working even just
No
Saturday.
noise. I just drive the truck in and shut it off. But if I have to unload it, I back it in the garage and I unload it, and you don't hear nothing anyway.
Could I speak, Mr.
But
Chairman?
I only got one truck and I tie it up, see?
Certainly.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I was very disappointed to see
I
this.
can't hear you.
I was very disappointed to see this request on the agenda. I think with all the trouble we've had, since I've got on the board in April, I think it was very poor judgment on your part. I think it was very unneighborly. I certainly would not request it. I would certainly not approve this. And again, as far as being a good neighbor, I'm very disappointed to see this on the
Well,
agenda.
What brought that on is Mr. LePage destroyed a lot of my property.
All right, we're not
No,
gonna
not-
talk
I
about,
told
And we're
you,
not
that's
gonna
nothing
get
to do
into
with
that.
no.
But what I'm trying to say is, there's noise all around me. And I'm not working, I'm not making no noise, nothing. And I haven't worked weekends and holidays since.
Well, you're not allowed to,
Right.
Yeah.
And I
but I
end
think you do.
up
too.
making signs made for the front of my house.
Yep.
And I know, it's on the phone. Jim, the building inspector, come down, took pictures of it. It's got right there, no work weekends, definitely closed.
And no holidays.
And no holidays, and no work before 7. That's it.
In other words, 7 to 7.
It's
It's
great that you
7
have
Five
those
days a week.
signs, but you have to abide by them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell you, this is a no for me as well,
yeah.
yeah.
this change of hours.
So in other words, he still can work Monday through Friday.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
You're better off.
This is
Monday
a,
through Friday. You
this
can only work
is a
Monday through
review,
Friday.
discuss, and act. We reviewed it. Is there a motion on the floor to deny this or approve it?
Motion to deny the request to change hours as presented.
I'll second that.
The motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So you still cannot do it on Saturday?
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
you.
Thank you for coming in. Now we're going to move to announcements.
So the fire department open house, 300 Main Street on Sunday, October 13th, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. There will be crafts, an obstacle course, a demonstration, and more. The Butt Hut, I've always wanted to say that. Barbecue will also be there. The Town of Dayton Food Bank will be held next on October 19th, 2024. This is at Town Hall, and it is in the lower level. And on Saturday, October 26th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, will coordinate with the Dayton Police Department for a one-day prescription take-back day. That's it.
Okay. We're at a point where we have public input. Is there anybody here who wants to speak? Yes, please.
Hi, Alicia Wilson, 2043 Somerset Ave. First, I would like to thank you for allowing the school building committee to come tonight and speak. I would like to say that we would like as much community input as possible. So we'd really like to press that we do post our meetings, and we'd like people to come to those meetings if possible, or view them on Zoom as we do post them. Any public input, positive or negative, is welcome in this matter. We'd like to get the viewpoints of all
Sure.
community citizens. I'd also like to thank you for hearing Joe's licensing tonight. I would like to state that as a neighbor, that was very important to me. There is activity on Saturdays and Sundays and
Yeah.
holidays and very early in the morning still, and so that continues to be an issue. I know that the police were called at least once over the summer due to that, and I was witness to what happened prior to the police coming there, and they called me over, or Joe called me over, and I did not want to participate. If the police needed to speak to me, they were more than welcome to come
Right.
and speak to me. I just didn't want to subject my daughter to that
Sure.
at the time, but You know, that was something that I was in the presence of happening on a weekend. So I just wanted to make those comments and thank you for
Right.
your support and for
Sure.
making the neighborhood better.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? Okay, we're gonna move on to, town administrator's report, please.
Not tonight, Mr. Chair.
Okay. About selectmen's reports.
No, but I will say Mr. Purcell did such a fantastic job presenting at our debt exclusion public forum that we had.
Sure.
And I'm so thankful for all the hard work and research that our whole team put in. But it all went in for Mr. Purcell to present the numbers so well and the facts. And so just thank you so much. And that is on the town website. And Karen's worked hard to put our unit bank presentation and our fact sheet on there. And lucky to have you guys, and thank you guys for doing what you do.
Thank you, and I do owe you a conversation, Mr. Pacheco, on, I think there was another request, a synopsis of part of, let's see, the line of credit.
Yeah.
A portion, I heard we must speak about that. I'll catch
Yes.
up to you.
Okay, very good.
The only thing I had that is, a while back that we had voted and agreed on for me to, do the Public Health Excellence Grants meetings for the Board of Health. And I happened upon their agenda, and it looks like, they had voted to have one of their members start, attending that meeting. So at that point, I will step aside
Step
because
aside.
it was never my intentions to be in the Board of Health's, business. So now that they have somebody that's going to be attending those meetings, I'll step aside, and I have reached out to Megan, who runs those meetings, and let her know that I have stepped aside, and that if she needs any additional support from the Selectmen's office, that we will provide that.
Sure. All right, thank you. This is gonna be old business now. This is a review, discuss, and act, town administrator's contract ratification.
Well, Mr. Chairman, we have as you are aware, we're very happy to announce that we have the framework. Well, more than a framework, we have the specifics agreed to. That's why the executive session took a bit longer, and you all had to wait outside. Thank goodness it wasn't January for that. But Mr. Ralph Rataco, and we'll work up the, we'll finalize the wording
details.
and have the contract execution at a later
date.
time.
Okay.
But you have gone through the process, you have extended an offer of employment. There were negotiations between the two parties, the Board of Selectmen and Mr. Rataco. We have reached an agreement, and I think, we don't have a contract document that isn't marked up in
Right.
red and blue and everything else for execution tonight. But we all know what the terms of the contract are, and I would ask that the board ratify same, subject to edits in Scrivener.
Okay.
Correction of Scrivener errors.
When do you anticipate a contract?
That would just take a matter of,
A day?
that's a day or.
Yep.
That's a day or two. Tomorrow is the last working day of the week. I think if it takes more than 15 minutes, we've been,
Okay,
we've been
Sure.
taking too long with it, so we can put that one to bed tomorrow. But in terms of execution, it could be just a ministerial act.
Okay.
It wouldn't necessitate further action by the board to actually sign the contract. If you voted it, subject to edits
Okay.
in Scrivener's errors, I don't think anything is pretty standard stuff, don't you think, Ralph? I don't think there'll be any significant discoveries.
Yeah.
Oh geez, we forgot that. We're way past that.
sure. Has everybody had the opportunity to meet Ralph, or even know that he's our new town administrator? You wanna? Sure.
Thank you. My name's Ralph Fataco, and as Mr. Purcell was explaining and the board, we do have an agreement in principle, which I think both sides are satisfied with it. I don't anticipate any issues with it, and as you know, my discussions with Mr. Purcell, I believe I'll be starting probably last week-ish in October.
Okay,
And I am looking forward to this
great.
opportunity. That's it.
We're looking forward to you starting as well. Not
Yeah.
that Jim isn't doing a great job, but he's anxious to get his vacation,
Yeah.
or start his vacation.
The longer you take to get here, the more wrath you incur from from my bride.
All right.
Welcome, we're so excited to have you.
So this is supposed to be a review, discuss, and act. What are we actually going to vote on?
I'd ask that you,
Just to ratify the
that
contract?
you vote to approve the contract, subject to edits and Scrivener's,
Okay,
correction to Scrivener's errors.
I'll make the motion as stated by Mr. Purcell.
okay.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Thank you. Congratulations, Ralph.
Absolutely.
Review, discuss, and act. A recommendation to appoint Christine Blanchard as Dayton Housing Authority Board Member. Hi.
Hello?
I'm Robbie D'Souza. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, and this is Christine. She's one of our tenants. How you
Hi.
doing?
Oh,
And she volunteered to be our tenant board member, which we're very excited about.
Sure.
Thank you so much, and thank you for making it out here. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
This is for a 5-year term.
Yes.
Is there any actually, there's any discussion or motion on the floor? Do you have questions?
just for the public, what does the Dayton Housing Authority Board member do?
The state requires one of the 5 positions, we have 5 board members, one of the 5 should be a tenant if we have a volunteer that's willing. We've gone periods of times that we've had a board member and we haven't, a tenant board member, and sometimes we do not. And that is if we have a volunteer. With only 64 units, it's difficult to get someone willing to sit on a board. But Christine's willing to try it, so.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Christine.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. And I wasn't aware what your requirements were to begin with, so now I know.
So there's 1 state-appointed seat on the board, there's 3 elected seats, and there's 1 tenant seat.
Okay.
And that's all per state regulation.
Sure.
Awesome.
Great. Nicole, do you have any questions or
Nope, I
concerns? Okay, so again, this is a review, discuss, and act, so we need a motion on the floor to appoint Christine.
I'll make the motion to appoint Christine Blanchard as Dayton Housing Authority Board member.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Robbie, nice to see you in person. Talked over the phone and email. Yeah, same here.
Now we are on the, you're welcome,
you.
thank you. We are on the new business. This is a special town meeting warrant article listing. This is a review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have composed significant portions of the warrant itself, but here is a listing of the articles that have been submitted and some information, like dollar amounts and things attached there too. As you know, the warrant closed on Monday of this week, and our expectation is that by your next meeting, I think of October 9th, that, we'll be prepared to have very substantive discussions, pretty much along the same lines as you heard from Superintendent Rooney discussing one of his articles tonight. Karen, we are going to request, we have been coordinating with the Capital Planning Committee and the Finance Committee as well, and we'd like the board to please consider a special meeting on Wednesday, October 16th. So you would meet, you regularly meet the 2nd and 4th. Wednesdays, we request that you meet on the 16th. Our department heads and others can go through in the same night a capital planning meeting, which precedes, perhaps a joint meeting between the select board and the finance committee so that you can work up your recommendations on the 16th. You'd always have the following week if you had to clean something up, but the 16th would be the last selectmen's meeting that I would be in attendance at, and I'd really like to wrap the package up
Sure.
as much as possible, for Mr. Rataco's arrival.
Okay. Mark, does that fit your
The
schedule?
the warrant has to be posted on the 31st, by the way. Sorry.
My wife's having a C-section that day.
Oh,
so
no
I think
way.
I'll be,
Oh, cool.
A what?
All right.
Third baby's due that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
probably won't be there.
Okay.
We could do that Monday, or you guys can have it without me. It's up to you guys.
I don't care either way.
Well, what time is she having?
I have no idea.
How about this guy putting his personal life ahead of us? Seriously. Wow, that's exciting, Mark. Mr. Pacheco, I didn't know that. Oh, that's great.
Thank you.
Well, you're going to be excited, so you're given a pass for not being here. And that's great. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. I don't care. Nicole, we can have it on Monday if that fits. If it doesn't, we can keep it Wednesday night.
Out the details.
We'll work it out? Okay.
Yeah. I'm happy just to submit correspondence to you guys too.
Okay,
if I
sure,
have to
then
concern- or to
we'll work
town
out the
administrator.
details on it, but thank you.
I do know, Mr. Chairman, the FinCom scheduling, I think their best available
Was
dates
the 16th?
is the 15th and
Oh, 15th?
the 15th and the 16th.
Okay.
I think they wanted to meet themselves perhaps on the
Yep.
15th to be ready for
The 16th.
what is tantamount to, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, what would be tantamount to a board convention on the 16th?
Yep. Okay. Great. Then let's review, discuss, and act to request to appoint Barbara Catavia as Board of Health Representative to the Solid Waste Committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint Barbara Catavia as Board of Health Representative to the Solid Waste Committee.
Second.
Reviewed, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act Barbara Catavia as Board of Health Representative to the Stormwater Committee. She's
I'll
gonna
make
be
a
busy.
motion to appoint Barbara Catavia as Board of Health Representative to the Stormwater Committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Request to appoint Tammy Mello as Board of Health Representative to the Agricultural Committee.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tammy Mello as Board of Health Representative to the Agricultural Committee.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Review, discuss, and act donation of sick time hours. Anybody have that?
Tom Ferry would like to donate 64 hours of sick time towards Richard Mendonca. I would put that in the form of a motion.
Sure.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Tom, wherever you went.
Yes.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Review, discuss, and act debt exclusion informational mailer.
We had public input to you and I at the end of
Yep.
the public forum on that. So I know it was just kind of briefly mentioned at our public forum, so I thought it would be nice if we talked about it. I
Right,
think that
absolutely.
the gist of it was that there are folks who may be not on social media or, aren't even aware that it's happening.
Right.
And they might just show up on election day and not know.
Sure.
My only concern is, I would just want to make sure above the costs.
Yep.
that the town, someone from the town would check with Office of Campaign and Political Finance and make sure that it's appropriate to use
Town
public
funds.
funds to do a mailer on it.
Wow. Okay,
So I'd be in favor, subject to
Yep.
their blessings.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, there may be some constraints on that, as cited by Mr. Pacheco just a moment ago. And I did wonder, and I'm just going to leave it out there. You know how the Secretary of State's office puts out
Right.
puts out that the booklet every year on the referendum questions, and they have they have parties say what a yes vote would be and what a no vote would be. There's no advocacy on the town's part, on the town government's part, the sponsor of a mailing, and I wonder if that's, let's just think about that and I'll explore the legality of it. If that's more appropriate under the campaign and political finance laws. I don't know who we would invite, there aren't a lot of declared parties who've said they're for or against it.
Sure.
But I suspect they won't be too hard to find.
Right.
But maybe that's the form. I'm spitballing here.
I agree
Mr.
with you.
Pacheco,
Yeah.
If we were to do anything, I feel like it would be that form.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, we wouldn't just put out one side, we'd put out two sides without comment by
Right.
us. further.
Just informative, yes or no,
Yeah,
what they mean.
yeah.
We could
Okay.
squeeze that on a postcard to keep it cheap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So, this is a review, discuss, and act. Do you want to approve it tonight to just have it studied?
I think some communities are already receiving ballots for vote by mail.
Yep.
And so Dayton would probably be receiving it soon. So if we did it, I would say I would want us just to either give it blessings tonight or not,
Yep.
because we're gonna lose the opportunity soon, because
Right.
that could be half of the vote, is votes
Okay.
going by mail.
Sure.
But I'm not sure what you think about it. Is it worth the money? Is it not worth the money?
It's a big project here in town, and my opinion is that it is worth the funds that we would pay, just to keep everyone informed. Because like you said, the internet is not always the best way to go.
Right.
Nicole, do you have a concern?
No,
or
I don't have any
question?
concerns.
Okay, so is there a motion on the floor then?
I'll make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to approve a debt exclusion informational mailer, subject to approval of the Office of Campaign and Political Finance, for it to be in the form of a postcard, and for it to be based off of the informational flyer that we've already approved.
Okay.
Second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This is a review, discuss, and act, use of facilities policy and fee schedule revision.
I asked for this to be on the agenda as well. This was a follow-up. We had public input on the fee
Yep.
schedule. After that public input, I had a follow-up meeting with Mr. Smith, our chairman of Parks and Recreation. And kind of my angle of it was, like the Carl Spratt Memorial Field, like those concrete bleachers are
Yep.
eroding. And we don't even ask for a fee for that. And looking back, had we asked for, like, for years, asked for a fee, there'd probably be a good amount of money there to fix up the concrete. So I thought it would make sense to kind of look over the schedule of fees again, just for the future. So I just want to request a motion for the board's approval to look over the fee schedule and the policy with Mr. Smith, and for us to come back at a later date to the board
Okay.
with changes,
Sure.
recommended changes.
Okay, do you want to put a motion on the floor then?
We'll put that in the form of a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the warrants.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve the warrants paid by September 19th, 24, 12A-25, in the amount of $112,507.62, 12B-25, in the amount of $221,017.94, warrants paid by September 26, 24, 13A-25, in the amount of $141,826.87, and 13B-25 in the amount of $164,428.28.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Public input? Anyone? No? Okay. Minutes. Approval of the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of September 11th, 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen regular meeting minutes of September 11th, 2024.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. We now have to go back into executive session. So unfortunately, you guys have to leave. I know you don't want to, but its time has come.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, you want to make a motion?
Sure, why not? I'll make a motion under Massachusetts General Laws 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, town accountant, executive assistant, human resource coordinator, administrative assistant, board of selectmen.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.